just because the intelligence services become aware of intelligence doesn't always mean that the policymakers who are in charge of executing defensive measures on behalf of that intelligence actually take the action that's required of them. So what that means is if Hamas created an attack, and if there was intelligence to be gathered, even if Israelis Mossad or Shin Bet collected that information, it would still be up to the Netanyahu administration to actually execute defensive policies in enough time to protect the Israeli people. So that's, again, not a sign of intelligence failure if it is in fact the policymakers or the administration who is ineffective in executing on the intelligence that they're given. We don't have enough information at this point in time to understand if intelligence was collected on the attack, and if it was, whether or not the Netanyahu administration actually took preemptive action on the intelligence that was collected, or whether that intelligence sat in a report in somebody's inbox overnight, or if it was ignored, or if it was overlooked. We don't have enough information to confirm whether or not this was truly an intelligence failure, so I want to make sure that you understand as you watch the headlines and the headline news, this is not a proven intelligence failure, and any journalist who claims that it is just demonstrating that they have no idea of how intelligence actually works. This was for sure a successful surprise attack, and whether or not there was intelligence to be able to prevent the surprise attack is yet to be determined. Now, understanding the intelligence truth of this situation, let's talk about why the timing is so important. Now, I don't think it's really that important that this happened on an anniversary period of the 1973 Yom Kippur War. I think that that's interesting, and I think that's in line with what you see with many terrorist groups that generally tend to execute operations on anniversaries of other dates. But more important than that, consider the fact that Israel has been going through some advanced negotiations with Saudi Arabia for normalization of ties between the Israeli, or the Jewish, and the Muslim, or Sunni Muslim, world. Now, if you zoom in on the Middle East, you basically have two countries vying for influential dominance in the Middle East. And those two countries are Iran and Saudi Arabia. Iran is, of course, Shia, and Saudi Arabia is Sunni in terms of the primary Muslim faith in both countries. Now, Iran is trying to spread its influence and expand the Sunni caliphate across what it calls the Red Crescent throughout the Gulf countries in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, is trying to prevent against that by creating a strong base of Sunni support, and Sunni Islam is the same kind of Islam that's practiced in large part by the Palestinians that exist in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank of Israel. So Saudi Arabia has become this strong international supporter of the Sunni Muslim Palestinians in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. And as Saudi Arabia becomes closer and closer in diplomatic ties with Israel, it actually poses an increasing threat on Iran, because the stronger that Saudi Arabia gets and the stronger that Israel gets, the weaker that Iran looks in the eyes of the world. Now, Hamas, as an internationally recognized and registered terrorist organization, gets funding for its operation from two sources. Its primary source is a group of charitable donations and charitable giving from across the Sunni world. But the second place that it gets its funding from is directly from Iran. If you like this short clip, make sure you click here to see the next clip, or here to see the full podcast episode.
Freedom! So fresh, so new. Freedom!